Greetings. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whichever one it may be for you. My name is Brittany Jenkins. I am a junior psychology major, sociology minor at the illustrious Clarkson University. I am from Brooklyn, New York, the best place on earth. I am the daughter of William and Ari Jenkins, and I have a younger brother named Brandon Jenkins. But being as though I am from New York, back home, I have attended Medgar Evers College Preparatory School, which is an early college, junior high school, and high school in one. But I only attended high school. But even though I only attended the high school, it prepared me for some of the classes that I would take, and it grew me with some of the skills that I would later on learn as a student here at Clarkson University. Some of those skills include just a plethora of any Microsoft kind of application. So PowerPoint presentations, Word documents, spreadsheets, Excel, those are the main things that main applications that I have mastered while being here at Clarkson University. Other things that I have mastered include a couple of accomplishments. So last semester, I was fortunate enough, I worked my butt off and I obtained a 3.8 GPA, all A's, 1B. And another accomplishment would be for me becoming Miss Psychology, which is basically the queen of the department for the Undergraduate Psychology Association, which many psychology majors as well as other majors at Clarkson University, because we aren't just open to psych majors, we're open to everybody. A lot of people don't even know that exists on campus. So hopefully before my reign as Miss Psychology is over in the spring semester of 2019, that's one of the things I can implement. As far as a lot of things that people don't know that go on, there's fun facts you may not know about me. And one fun fact you may not know about me is that I used to be a professional horseback rider. It is actually a sport. Not really a hobby, but can be classified as a hobby. There's regionals for it. It's one of the best experiences of your life. I loved it 1,000%. But another role or another plethora of things that I enjoy in my free time would include music. I'm very into music. I love R&B. I can listen to it all day. As you can see, I have my AirPods in, but no music's playing. I like to dance. I used to be on a dance team at Clark. I've been dancing since I've been able to walk. So literally like 3 years old, I've been dancing. I want to say closer to 5, but my first actual experience with dancing was at 3. So that's pretty much my life. I am getting back into poetry. I did write poetry and I had a poetry book, and I stopped around 7th grade, 8th grade, because the people I started hanging around was like, that's not cool. Like, who writes poetry in your book on free time? Like, grow up a little bit. So I kind of let, them get into my head, but forget them. I'm going to start my poetry again. But as many people have influenced me in maybe negative or positive ways, there's many influences that are now being introduced to psychology, whether they're, from word of mouth, whether it's society's influence, whether they're technological influences, they vary. But more importantly, I want to focus on the technological advances and influences that are now affecting me, psychology. One of the main kind of technological influences, or kind of advancements, that's a better word, advancements would be cell phones and landlines. More specifically in psychology, which I forgot to mention, I want to do counseling. Marriage and family, specifically in African American communities. I also want to do cognition, which is kind of just studying how certain things in the brain affect like mental disorders as well. But more importantly, I want to focus on marriage and family therapy. And cell phones and landlines have become so important or such an influence or an effect, because now it has become easier for people to be confidential, which is the main reason why most people do not see a psychiatrist or a psychologist, because you have to walk in. It's just the actual feeling of having to say, I'm going to see a therapist, I'm going to counseling. Nobody really wants to admit it. But with a cell phone or a landline, it becomes a lot easier to kind of hide your identity. It becomes a lot easier to try to not face the fact that, hey, I am talking to a therapist. Like, you could just be texting somebody and the person, be like, oh, what you doing? I'm just texting. But if you're texting, somebody like a friend or something, and they're like, hey, what you doing? Where you going? And you about to walk in to see your therapist, you're not going to tell them, oh yeah, I'm coming to see a therapist. You understand? It's a confidentiality issue, even though it's 100% confidential. More people don't see it that way, so they see cell phones and landlines as more of a, I don't really have to face the fact that I'm going, or nobody needs to know. It's on my cell phone. It's privacy. So, that's kind of, it works in a good way and a bad way, because it kind of takes away from what we do as psychologists and psychiatrists, as far as a more personal setting. You get to sit in front of somebody and it's face to face. That's why it's recommended. It's more on a personal level. But when you're doing it over the phone, although it may benefit the other person by not giving off, a sense of like virus, or like a sense of, I guess, intrusion. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm sorry, y'all. It took me a long time. Intrusion. That's their biggest fear. However, doing the whole over the phone thing, or it's very easy to hide certain things. Like, you can't pay attention to body language. You can't pay attention to posture. All you can really do is just go by what somebody's telling you over the phone or what they're texting you. And texting is actually 1,000 times worse, because they can be saying things in a certain tone that you may not catch onto as a psychologist or a psychiatrist, because it's over the phone. You're texting. There's no tone in texting. So it comes with its downfalls and its pros. It goes either way. But speaking of downfalls, one of the things that comes with a lot of technological advances are critical cybersecurity threats. Critical cybersecurity threats are things that, it's basically what it sounds like. Actually, it's a threat to your security using a cyber, kind of application or device, anything like that. And one of the biggest things that are impacting or like contributing to the growth of, cybersecurity threats is unpatched software. Now, I know we're all victims of, you get a notification on a computer, on your phone, to update your software. You see, and you be like, I'm not updating that. I'm guilty. Basically saying, like, I'm not updating this. And a lot of people are like, oh, let me not update it, because, once you update it, that's when all the problems come in, and da-da-da-da. You're actually doing yourself a great disadvantage by not updating your software, which is unpatched software. That kind of leaves room for viruses to get through. It leaves room for hackers to, get into your information and bugs, because at this point your software is so old and things are currently and always reoccurringly changing in society, where they're updating software so that it can prevent those things. Like, okay, the newest software has a new security wall, updated wall, that the new hackers can't get into. But the new hackers can get into the old software because they know how to get through it. So that's one way to prevent it. Just regularly update your software. Check for software updates. Do not exit out the message. Pay attention. I made it one of my goals for 2019. You should make it too. Upon that being one of my goals for 2019, I have long-term goals, which are both educational and like career-wise. educational wise, I plan to at least obtain a 4.0 before I graduate. Run for a position of higher power. So not just Miss Psychology, or not just a pageant, or something. I want to do something structured. Like, I've had the idea in mind to, when I retire my crown as Miss Psychology. Like I said, I still want to work with the Undergraduate Psychology Association, so I plan to actually run for vice president of the organization, because the Undergraduate Psychology Association is something I hold dear to my heart, as well as it provides an outlet for a science that is so overlooked and underrated. We're kind of like the underdogs. And if you know me, I've always been looked at the underdog, and it's like, psychology, as well as myself, is so much more than what it appears to be. Psychiatrists do so many things, and they're just always overlooked. So I don't want that trend to continue. So with my, reign as Miss Psychology, as well as my anticipated reign as the vice president of the Undergraduate Psychology Association, I want to make sure, like, it's known, this is who we are, this is what we do, we are here, we exist. And as far as existing, I'm going to exist because my career goals are up here, okay? Up here. I don't even know why I stopped here. Up here. So I plan to go to graduate school and obtain my doctorate's degree in psychology, because I don't want to just limit myself. And I want to get into counseling. I'm thinking about also doing research. I hate math. I don't know how that's going to correlate, but I love statistics. I don't know how that correlates. But I do think I want to do some research, as well as open my own non-for-profit organization. And I want it to be geared towards African American high school students, so that they can really, I want it to be like a HBCU kind of thing, so they can really just see what an HBCU is like, the experience, because we need more people here. It's in this day and age and in this generation, it's a necessity. And I'm sorry to wrap it up, and I'm pretty sure you'd love to listen to more minutes, even though it's already about to be 13. But that's all about me. And that's it. Have a good day, y'all.